Hello, America. I'm Erick Erickson. Here are the four things you need to know this afternoon. Your essential rundown of the top stories shaping our nation. Remember, you can get the full podcast of the Erick Erickson Show on Spotify, Apple, or your favorite podcast app. And now you can get this as a podcast. The four things you need to know this afternoon as a podcast. Here they are, starting with my, oh my. The public feud between Donald Trump and Elon Musk just blew up this afternoon. Elon Musk is claiming the reason the Trump administration will not release the Jeffrey Epstein files is because Donald Trump is in those files. This comes as tensions between President Trump and the billionaire have erupted publicly, ending a previously influential political alliance. The fallout was prompted by Elon Musk's harsh criticisms of Donald Trump's signature tax and spending bill, labeling it fiscally irresponsible and filled with unnecessary expenditures. Trump responded by accusing Musk of political opportunism and blaming his grievances on the bill's provisions that cut electric vehicle tax credits, impacting Musk's company Tesla. However, Elon Musk for the last decade has maintained that tax credits for electric vehicles aren't needed for Tesla. The dispute escalated in real time on social media, with Musk claiming credit for Trump's 2024 victory and expressing disillusionment with the administration. Welcome to the crowd, Elon. He even suggested forming a new political party. The bill in question, narrowly passed by the House, increases tax cuts and military spending, but reduces social and clean energy funding and is projected to boost the federal deficit by $2.4 trillion over 10 years, according to the Congressional Budget Office. While the Senate is reviewing the bill, divisions within the GOP have emerged. Some lawmakers are being influenced by Elon Musk's remarks. Trump, however, remains determined to push the legislation through by July 4th. The rift marks a seismic shift in U.S. political dynamics, severing a once crucial partnership. Late today, President Trump has suggested it's time for the government to review contracts with Elon Musk's companies, and now Elon Musk, as I come on air, is proceeding to claim Donald Trump is in the Jeffrey Epstein files. It is a soap opera. Republican senators are deliberating making changes to Medicare, aiming to address long-term stability and sustainability concerns. While specific proposals have not yet been detailed, discussions suggest a focus on cost-saving measures and potentially restructuring benefits. The considerations come amid broader debates on federal spending and entitlement reform. Any proposed changes are expected to face significant scrutiny and debate within Congress and among the public. Democrats are already, you will be unsurprised to learn, claiming the GOP plan is to throw people off Medicare and causing people to die again. Three major rulings from the Supreme Court today. They're all unanimous. This morning on workplace discrimination, the court ruled in favor of Marion Ames, a straight white cisgender woman from Ohio who claimed reverse discrimination after being passed over for a job opportunity by her gay boss in favor of a less qualified lesbian candidate. The court vacated a 2023 ruling by the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, which had upheld a district court decision requiring Ames to present additional background circumstances to prove discrimination as a member of a supposed majority class. Written surprisingly by Ketanji Brown Jackson, the unanimous court found there's no such thing as reverse discrimination. There's simply discrimination, and no class of people are required under the law or court precedent to meet a higher standard to claim discrimination. On gun manufacturer liability, the court declined to hold U.S. gun manufacturers liable for weapons used in crimes in Mexico. The court cited jurisdictional limitations and reinforced protections for domestic firearm producers. The decision was written by Progressive Elena Kagan, and the unanimous court held that Mexico is prevented from suing gun manufacturers in the United States, particularly in this particular case, Smith & Wesson, for cartel violence due to federal laws protecting gun manufacturers from lawsuits related to the use of guns in crimes. There was a big win for religious organizations as well in a case involving a Catholic charity. Sonia Sotomayor wrote for a unanimous court that ruled religious organizations cannot be denied tax-exempt status available to other religious organizations based on the religious beliefs of the organization. It affirmed protections under the First Amendment. In this particular case, the Wisconsin Supreme Court had ruled that Catholic Charities of America was not really a religious organization because, get this, it provided charitable assistance to people who were not Catholic. Notably, Sonia Sotomayor is the most hostile of all the Supreme Court justices towards religious liberty claims, and this was a bridge too far even for her. Lastly, the U.S. trade deficit has narrowed sharply. In April of 2025, the trade deficit narrowed to $61.6 billion, the lowest since September of 2023, following a record drop in imports due to tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. This marked a 55% decline from March's record $138.3 billion trade deficit. It's the largest dollar decrease in trade deficits since data began being collected in 1992. Imports dropped 16% to $351 billion, with consumer goods, particularly pharmaceuticals, experiencing a steep 32% decline. Businesses had rushed to import goods ahead of new tariffs enacted in April, but slowed afterwards, and policy is uncertain right now. Imports from key trading partners, including the EU, Canada, Mexico, and China, also fell significantly. Meanwhile, exports rose 3% to a record $289.4 billion, partly driven by foreign buyers anticipating retaliatory tariffs. The shifting trade flows skewed first quarter GDP data, which contracted 0.2%, largely due to how imports are treated in GDP calculations. Economists expect a rebound in the second quarter as inventory effects stabilize. Looking ahead, ongoing tariff policies and resulting countermeasures could further disrupt trade and reduce its role in the U.S. economy. The White House continues to advocate for tariffs as a means to bolster domestic manufacturing and economic growth, but the New York Fed now reports a majority of American businesses have raised the price of goods, and consumer data now shows Americans are beginning to reduce their spending. So here are the key takeaways this afternoon. The public fallout between Musk and Trump underscores deep divisions within the GOP, and it is blown open this afternoon with a nuclear blast from Musk, accusing Donald Trump of being in the Jeffrey Epstein files. Republican considerations for Medicare changes signal potential shifts in entitlement programs, warning close attention. No plans have been unveiled, however. The Supreme Court has made major rulings on employment discrimination, religious liberty, and guns in the United States, relying on U.S. legal accountability laws internationally, applying them to Mexico. And lastly, the trade deficit has shrunk dramatically, but it's not actually good news for the U.S. economy. It shows tariffs are actually beginning to have an impact. These are the 4 top things you need to know this afternoon. Be sure to text Erick, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Get the show notes, the podcast, and so much more. I am Erick Erickson. This is the 4 things you need to know this afternoon. Stay grounded, stay informed, and please keep the faith.